Good morning. I do not speak Chinese, so all of my friends here in China speak English, and they speak English very well. I'm also in business, so most of my Chinese contacts are also business executives from many different industries. Lots of them studied abroad in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Europe, but then they returned to China. That was their plan, to study abroad and then return to China to live and work. My circle of friends are also mainly middle-aged, like me, and so professionally, they are senior managers and directors of companies or banks or deans in universities. They're upper management and executive level. And by definition, these are Chinese who studied abroad and then came back. That's how I know them in the first place. Two major developments are unfolding now that are making the kind of Chinese people I know more and more rare. First is that there are far fewer Chinese going abroad to study compared to previous years. They're staying here in China. Second, there are a lot of Chinese who are abroad and coming back, but their plan was not to do so. Their intention was to study abroad and to live abroad, probably permanently. But now they're coming back too. Like my middle-aged friends here, they are well established in business or in science or in academia with decades of experience now abroad, and now they're coming back. We shared a presentation earlier about how a group of top scientists left Microsoft to start a Chinese AI company. And we posed the question then, why would they do that? Why would a bunch of vice presidents and chief scientists, by the way, those were their actual positions at Microsoft. They are multimillionaires. They're division and department chiefs. And they bought one-way tickets to set up a new company here in China. So let's ask again, why would they do that? Brookings gets into it a little bit, and it's a combination of things all hitting at the same time. China is no longer the #1 foreign source of students studying in the United States. India is. Chinese factories are now at least as prestigious as Western ones at a fraction of the cost. And Chinese top universities are keeping the top talent home. Tsinghua University is the #1 uni in China, and they're now a top 10 in the world. In previous years, Tsinghua grads would head to the United States for postgraduate study. That's over. In 1989, 70% of Tsinghua grads went to the US. 30 years on, 2018, that was down to 11%. In 2021, now it's just 3%. So these are young people, kids who have not yet begun their careers. They're not coming. Chinese universities have been far ahead of us in STEM graduates for 20 years. Earlier, China passed the US in the number of scholarly publications in top science journals. Top Chinese talent is being pushed away, and at the same time, Chinese universities are drawing them in. In 2021 alone, just in 1 year, more than 1,400 Chinese scientists gave up their positions in US universities or in industry and came back to China. 40% of Chinese scientists at top American universities are considering leaving. That comes from the Wall Street Journal, from data by researchers at Princeton, Harvard, and MIT. There has been a sharp increase in top Chinese scientists who have left the US for China, and this is each year, not cumulative. Engineering and computer science, life sciences, and faster increases still in math and physics. In interviews, these Chinese say that politics and racism are making things impossible for them. Anti-Chinese public opinion goes across the political spectrum back home. 83% negative, with 44% highly negative. That means it goes across Republican and Democratic Party lines. And the exodus of Chinese talent is actually accelerating under Biden compared to Trump. But just as young Chinese people are being drawn to stay in China because of huge improvements in Chinese universities, a key draw for older and professional Chinese who are now abroad is the stark improvement in the Chinese economy. The China that these people are returning to is far wealthier than the China that they left decades ago. China is now seen as the place to be for the most cutting-edge research and economic growth. The Wall Street Journal talked to a couple of dozen Chinese scientists who have left or who are planning to. Government persecution, racism, of course, but they also mentioned better pay, that they would make more money in China than in the United States. Now, these are tenured faculty at some of the top universities in the world, and they're US citizens, experts in aerospace and biology, and they want to leave. Here's a Chinese professor of ME, left the US after more than 20 years, and he has children who are American citizens. He gave up on the politics in the United States. His career was stalled, so he moved to Hong Kong. I've got a problem with this paragraph here. These issues that Chinese scientists have got come at a bad time for us because Washington is hoping to defend our advantages in science and technology, innovation, while China is narrowing the gap. This is way off. We don't have that edge. We haven't had that edge in a long time. China has it, and the gap is not narrowing, it's widening. And we're lying to ourselves about something else. If it's Chinese engineers and scientists who are doing the work in our institutions, who do we think actually owns those innovations? Microsoft found out that Chinese scientists who build artificial intelligence for Microsoft think that the tech belongs to them. They built it, and Microsoft might have a legal argument that says it belongs to them because some of the work happened in a building with Microsoft's sign in the front of it. But that's not how non-lawyers see things. If it's your idea, it's your tech. And in 2020, Macro Polo discovered that Chinese scientists are 27% of the people working in AI in the United States. Here's an ugly chart to think about. China plus Iran plus India, that's almost half of our AI scientists. And those countries are a lot friendlier with each other than they are with us. So let's ask again, when top research comes out of the US university, where half of the team is from China or India or Iran, who does it really belong to? All of this is, though, just part of the big problem because China is where everything is made. China is where the supply chains are and the factories that build everything. So that mechanical engineer who wants to see his innovations applied in the real world, that will be in China. Engineers in the United States might do the design, but the production is outsourced and usually to here. And more, the US and Europe are saying that technology cannot be shared with China. And our companies are not allowed to buy from Chinese ones. What does that mean? It means that we're telling thousands of Chinese engineers and scientists and scholars that if they want to actually make money with their inventions, they need to leave and come here. There are Chinese who are arriving, though. A record number of Chinese immigrants crossed the Mexican border, more in 1 year than in the previous 10. And that is widely reported in our media, and we comfort ourselves about how bad things must be in China. Meantime, we are ignoring what is going on at the top end of the talent pool. The poorest Chinese, just like the poorest Mexicans, the poorest Guatemalans, the poorest Africans, they are just pouring in. They're walking across the border. But the most successful and the best educated Chinese, on the other hand, they're putting their American houses up for sale. They're quitting their American jobs at American universities and in American companies. They're saying goodbye to their American friends and even their American kids, and they're buying plane tickets. And the younger Chinese are not coming over at all. This is Wuhan in Hubei province. Be good.
People are saved and brought to faith in Jesus Christ. We pray that you bring mentors and disciples, family, to lead us the way.